Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Friday, March 15th, 2024. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my college basketball bank shop best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Friday in college hoops. First up, it's Wichita State and UAB. This one's going to be a 3 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN2. It's a part of the quarterfinal round of the AAC tournament. Now, Wichita State, give them credit. They have some nice wins so far in this tournament against Rice and Memphis. Rice was a sneaky team, going into that game. I think Wichita State was only a 3.5 point favorite. So even, Vegas was giving a lot of respect to the Owls in that one. And Wichita State, despite, having a few deficits in that game, they were able to win that one by 7. And then they take down Memphis. It's always a solid program under Penny Hardaway. Upset win there for the Shockers. But I don't love this spot for Wichita State in this game. I think UAB, a team that had a lot of expectations, even though they lost a lot of production from last year's roster. They didn't play too well in the beginning of the season, but towards the end of conference play, we really saw this team improve. They ended the season with a big win against SMU by 4 points at home, and I do think UAB is the better team in this game. I trust their defense. I think their defense is honestly underrated. While contrary, on the other side, I think Wichita State's defense is a little bit overrated, and I think UAB takes this one. I'm going to go with UAB in this one and lay the points. Next up, we see St. John's and Yukon. This one's going to be 5:30 Eastern. It's going to be on Fox. Now, this is the semifinal game, one of the semifinal games for the Big East Conference Tournament, and man, I know UConn's been one of the best teams in college basketball this season. They're on a win streak, but St. John's, it is really tough to go against them, especially when we're getting this many points with how well the Red Storm have played down the stretch. It was crunch time. It was desperation time for Rick Pitino's team when they lost that third straight game against Seton Hall on February 18th. Seton Hall or St. John's was 14-12 and 6-9 in conference play. That resume or that record is not going to get you into the big dance. But here we see St. John's win the final 5 games of the regular season, including wins at Butler and a home win against Creighton by double digits, and then go into this conference tournament and earn a 20 or 19-point victory over Seton Hall in the first game or first round for them. Man, St. John's is playing their best basketball of the season by far. And while they lost to Yukon by double digits in the last game, 77-64, it was a game where St. John's had a lead at halftime. They were up by 1 point at halftime. It was very competitive early. The game got away from them in the second half, but they showed that they can certainly compete with this Yukon team. Yukon's got a good 2-point defense, but they still give up a lot of their points, 51.5% of their points given up via 2-point field goals, and that's St. John's bread and butter. They take a ton of mid-range jumpers, a lot of pick and rolls, and a lot of jumpers right off the screen, and I think that their offense does good enough here. We saw 91 points in that win over Seton Hall, and they've scored 80-plus points in every game of their win streak now. I got to go with St. John's plus the points in this one. I don't know if they win the game outright. Obviously, a win would pretty much be a shoe-in if the St. John's makes it to the tournament, but I think they at least cover the number. Next up, we see Pittsburgh and North Carolina. It's going to be a semifinal game in the ACC tournament. This one's 7 p.m. Eastern. North Carolina's on a roll. They're playing great basketball. We saw them crush Florida State in the first game for them in the ACC tournament, 92-67. However, Pittsburgh has also pulled off some nice wins this season, especially on the road. This is a neutral site game, so I like the fact that Pittsburgh's had experience winning games away from home. They have the big win on the road against Duke. They beat Virginia and NC State on the road, Boston College, some of the mid-tier teams, but also some really nice wins against some potential tournament teams. And I think North Carolina wins this game, but I think it's going to be a really close one. I think Pittsburgh has proven they're a great shooting team. They're top 40 in three-point defense as well. They take care of the defensive glass. They take care of the basketball. 2 really important things when you're playing in these tournament-style games at these neutral sites. You got to be able to take care of the basketball. Pittsburgh top 10 in the country in turnover percentage offensively. You also got to limit those second-chance looks. Pittsburgh top 10 in defensive rebounding percentage. And, North Carolina, very experienced roster, very talented roster, a great front court. They usually do a lot of damage on the glass against their opponents, but I don't think it's going to be the case in this game. I think Pittsburgh competes here. I'm going to take the points with the Panthers, which should be a good one, maybe an upset win for Pittsburgh. Next up, we see Alabama A&M and Texas Southern. This one, 9:30 Eastern, is going to be on ESPN+, the semifinal game in the SWAC Conference Tournament. Now, on the morning show on Wednesday, I took Alabama A&M plus the points, and I was really worried for Alcorn State in terms of that game, winning that game outright. Alcorn State, of course, a team that we've made a lot of money betting on this season, especially in conference play, but it just didn't look like a great spot for the Braves, and unfortunately for them, they lost that game outright to this Alabama A&M team. And while Alabama A&M is very dangerous and a team that's been flying under the radar all season in this conference, I just can't go against Texas Southern in March. This is a team that's won this conference so many times. They are masters of this conference tournament, and they made it look really easy against Jackson State in the first game, a double-digit win, 73-62 at the neutral site. Texas Southern doesn't always look the best at the beginning of the year. We saw them start the season 0-8. Now, part of that's because they schedule a really tough non-conference schedule. But even, at one point in conference play, this team had a losing record at 1-2. They lost to Arkansas Pine Bluff, really bad upset loss there. But they find a way. They got a lot sharper as the season went on. They only lost one of the final 6 conference games. And here they win that first, conference tournament game against a really solid Jackson State team by double digits. I got to go with Texas Southern in this game. What Alabama A&M does well, Texas Southern also does well. And you add in that really strong defense, I got to go with the Tigers in this one and lay the points. Next up, we see a semifinal game in the Big 12 Conference Tournament between Texas Tech and Houston. This one's going to be a 7 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN+. Now, Houston, for their first game in this Big 12 tournament, it was a classic Houston Cougars final score, 60-45 in favor of Houston. How many times have we seen Houston hold teams to under 50 points, sometimes even 40 points this season? That defense is the real deal. It's number 1 in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency, number 1 in effective field goal percentage defense, and Houston overall, 29-3 record. They're number 1 in the AP polls, number 1 in KenPom. Certainly one of the big favorites to win the NCAA tournament this season. But, here, first of all, we have this game against Texas Tech. And Texas Tech is no slouch. This is a solid team. They're on a 4-game win streak. They took care of business against BYU, a very solid team by 14 points, 81-67 the final score. I just don't love this matchup for Texas Tech, a team that kind of plays a similar game to Houston, relies on that defense, but the offense, I think with the problems with turning the ball over a little bit too much, not strong on the defensive glass, I think those issues could really show up in a game like this. Houston, they get a lot of offensive rebounds. They are, not an amazing shooting team. They're a very efficient offense, but mostly because they get those second chance looks and they take care of the basketball. But they're only 217th in effective field goal percentage. I think Texas Tech giving this Houston team a lot of second chance looks is going to be really a recipe for disaster for the defense for the Red Raiders. And I think in the end, Houston just too much for Texas Tech, even at the neutral site. I'm going to go with Houston in this one and lay the points. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.